According to videogames.org, consumers spent $25 billion on video games, software, accessories, and hardware. Today I brought the PlayStation 3 controller. It doesn't always look like this, but I customized it to my likings. And it's important. The PlayStation 3 controller is important because it displays innovative and technological advances in the video game culture. I connect to the controller and the video game culture because I grew up with video games. I play video games on a daily basis. So I am part of the video game culture. Learning about the PlayStation 3 controller will better understand you in how the video game industry works. First, I will discuss the evolution of video games and the video game controllers. Then I will discuss how I am part of the video game culture. So, the evolution of video game controllers dramatically increased over the last 37 years. The Atari 2600 was released in 1977. One of the games was called Pong, and this was a two-dimensional simulated table tennis video game. It included 2 players, or if you wanted to use AI, you had 2 paddles, one on each side. It would just go up and down. That's it, not left, right. A ball would just be bouncing past the screen. The objective of the game is you do not want the ball to go past your paddle, or else the enemy will gain a point. Pong, the system on the Atari 2600, only allowed 128 kilobits of RAM. Compared to today, that's nothing. That's not even half a song. Not even half a song. The Atari 2600 included an on and off switch, video game selection, and the joystick only had a joystick and an action button. Today, the PlayStation 3 allows 8 gigs of RAM. That's like a lot compared to the Atari 2600. The PlayStation 3 was released in 2006, and you can go on online multiplayer, you can play cooperatively, you can play competitively. There's so many options on game selections. The best-selling game, most of you may know, is Grand Theft Auto 5. For me, I waited hours just before it released, and it was so fun when it came out. I was able to kill people. Okay. The buttons on the PlayStation 3 controller are a lot more complex compared to the Atari 2600. You have 4 action buttons when the Atari 2600 only had 1. You have 2 joysticks when the Atari 2600 only had 1. And you have 4 triggers. You have 4 analog sticks. You have a select button. You have a start button. You have a PlayStation Start home button. It has vibrational features. It's Bluetooth compatible. And it has a USB port, allowing for charge and transferring data. So now that I have discussed about the evolution of video games, I want to discuss how I am part of the video game culture. I started playing video games probably about the age of 4 years old. My first system, from what I remember, was the Super Nintendo. That controller only had 2 buttons, a select, a start, and a little analog stick. I went from the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation 1 to the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 2, Xbox. I had GameCube. I've had more than I can think of. I didn't realize I was part of the video game culture until I was in high school. I noticed that, what did I want to do with my life? I don't know what I want to do with my life. The only thing I can think of was video games. How would I go to college to pursue my dream in entering the video game industry? The language that gamers use contain noob, which is, a fresh started player, or a player who does not have much skills. It also includes spawn camping, which is someone who goes at the spawn of the enemies, the position of the enemy spawn, and just sits there and just shoots them when they revived or they come back into the game. Now, some people say, are video games a sport? I personally wouldn't say so, depending on the situation. Sports involve physical activity and are used competitively or for entertainment. Now, although video games are not used physically, they are used for entertainment and competitions. You can consider it a sport, if you're a hardcore Wii fan, but I'm a PlayStation guy, so I wouldn't consider it a sport. Now that I have explained the evolution of PlayStation and how I am part of the video game culture, I want to review everything I've discussed. So I reviewed the Atari on how it only had limited amount of features compared to the PlayStation, and I reviewed how I am part of the video game culture by discussing my childhood and how I grew up to video games and how I knew that I was going to come to college to pursue my dreams in the video game industry. Now you have a better understanding of the evolution of video games, and I want to say that if video games did not exist today, I would not be standing here in front of you right now.